Hello dear students. In this video I'll be talking to you briefly about the analysis that you will be doing together with your team. Often when you're working with businesses you run into research reports where there's actually zero analysis. And this happens with all kinds of companies, from market research companies that have done the reports or to design agencies that have done the reports, and from quant to qual, anything. And what you see in those reports is just snippets of the data reported, but there's no interpretation of what it means and what we should think about it and why. So then the question is, what is analysis in this context of the deep customer insights? Well, first of all, you've probably seen a lot of different kinds of models of the design process or the service design process. And there's typically some kind of double diamond with research and analysis on the first diamond, and then the creative part on the second diamond. So before we get to the creative part, we need to have some kind of understanding of what kind of problems we're trying to solve and whom we are actually creating something for. So in the beginning of the whole double diamond process, we have some kind of general problems, like the service we're trying to improve is not meeting the needs of a specific customer group, say for example the elderly people. And then after the research and analysis stage, we're supposed to have a more specific understanding, saying that okay, which are those specific unmet needs? How do people experience the whole service, and what goes wrong there? And how does this all play out in practice, in the real life? But since we do have a strong design approach, I guess we all do somehow, we always on a risk of running into creative conclusions too fast, which means that, so for example, if we're thinking about the unmet needs of bus travelers, for example, and we're interviewing people and we hear a lot that, okay, there could be more comfortable seats, that could be a way to make this better. Then what we cannot do is just quickly pick that up and take it as an inspiration and go to our design of doing more comfy seats and then say that, okay, this is based on research, this is what people need, this is the way to go. Research-wise, that would be like really inspirational research, which is hearing something, picking up the inspiration and going away. And what we're trying to do is the opposite that. It's rather being analytical. And what that means, well, basically the definition of analysis is that it's a process of breaking up, it's a process of breaking complex topic or substance into smaller parts in order to gain a better understanding of it. Okay, so for our purposes, that means that first of all, we need to spend time with the data that we've gathered while we're doing the research. And we need to look at it from different perspectives. We need to be thinking, and then we need to be assessing those thoughts critically. We need to somehow compare our data and findings and relate it to some existing knowledge that we have, whether it's from previous research, from our previous knowledge of the business, or from other interviews we've had with some professionals in the field, for example. And we need to be really asking questions from the data and applying some kind of theories, hypotheses, or models when we're doing that, because those serve as lenses to look at the data through. And then we're aiming for recognizing some kind of patterns in the data. That means that we want to see the relations of things. We want to see familiarities, so these things go together. And how do they go together? and how are these things dependent on each other. So the questions that we are asking from the data are the research questions that we begin the whole process with. And thus, it is really important to have the analytical approach already from the beginning, from the stage where you're actually planning the research. So what are we going to ask for? What are we trying to seek or find out in the world? And that starts from asking the questions of what kind of existing information there is in the topic, what kind of previous research could be relevant for us, and then asking the question of how does our research relate to that existing information. And then we need to ask, what are the most important questions we're trying to answer? What will be the key research questions for our purposes in the project that we're working on? And then, obviously, before we go to the field, before we start talking to people, we need to think about the methods. What could be the best methods for this project? What could be the methods that would help us get really fruitful answers for our main research questions? So I'll encourage you to try and stay analytical and enjoy your project.